Hello, my name is John, and welcome to my Gamester81 in 3D channel, and this is my walkthrough of Funspot Arcade, or better known as Funspot Family Fun Center, located in Laconia, New Hampshire. We had a meetup here right after PAX East 2012. A bunch of us fellow YouTubers met up and had a great time. This is the world's largest arcade. There's over 500 games here. They have a ton more in storage. It's probably best known for the movie King of Kong, where they had Donkey Kong tournament here. And here is Tim, aka Jumble Junkie, pointing out that poster. Clive at Quick Freeze 4 also attended this meetup. Funspot is so large, it's 3 different stories, so I'm going to have to break this up into different parts because I can't cover it all in one video. When you walk to the left, there's a bunch of classic shooters like Cheyenne. There's Chiller, which is one of the most controversial games. That Neo Geo right there I just passed was actually Nathan Barnett or Keith Apocary's Neo Geo from his Neo Geo music video. They had a few cocktail tables, these sit-down tables. They didn't have too many. Here's 3 right here in a row. Would have loved to see more. I absolutely love those. There's some posters. They have different tournaments. This is also home of ACAM, which is American Classic Arcade Museum, so it's technically a museum. They have a ton of different classic Midway games here. There's Arkanoid, which is great. Heavy Barrel. This is a Upstairs, they have this mini golf. This mini golf is a reproduction of the original mini golf that they debuted in 1952 at the original Funspot, and they relocated and they brought that over here, and it's still there standing. Here's a Versus Nintendo. Very odd dual screen one. You don't see that very often. Robotron, which is classic. Defender. This is the aisle where a lot of the more classic, well-known games were found. Also, you might see some holes as in there. The reason that is because a lot of these machines, they took over to the PAX East gaming convention in Boston. They were just simply moved. The Donkey Kong I just passed was the Donkey Kong featured in the King of Kong. Imagine they have a lot of birthdays. This is kind of the birthday area. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet way back in the corner right there. On the other wall, here's Missile Command. A lot of the classic Atari. Along this wall is really cool because they're the cockpit kind of games where you actually sit down. And some really bizarre ones that you don't really see, like Road Blaster. I haven't seen that in a long time. The magnifying the lens is really cool. Makes the screen bigger. Red Baron, unusual sit-down. Turbo by Sega, one of the Sega's first successful racing games. And here's Spy Hunter. Stun Runner by Atari. Star Wars Sit-Down. Love me some Star Wars, one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Here's a Star Trek sit-down, which is very cool. It's a vector-style graphic game as well by Sega. Crazy Taxi seemed kind of a little out of place, but gotta love some crazy money and get some crazy taxi. That display case here with some items from retro memorabilia from various retro games. A little about the history of the arcade. That was Dual Space, the very first stand-up arcade. Some Universal games like Mr. Do and Cosmic Avenger. A lot of these are clones of other famous games as well. Mr. Do is very similar to Dig Dug, for example, but really fun games nonetheless. And here is the top. This is where they got pinballs on left there. There's a ton of games. Carnival, Astro Fighter, Russian Attack, and there's the original Pong. Death Race, one of the most controversial games of all time. You have to run over people in a car. Very unusual, and that's a very rare arcade cabinet. Here's a pan of all the arcades upstairs. They had a section off by manufacturer, which is cool. Here's a dual Pong. On the left hand side, when you walk in, there's a whole bunch of pinball machines. There's Kiss, Playboy. Playboy Marquee, there's actually a grandmother in the hot tub, kind of weird. Superman by Atari, which is a wide body Superman. Atari didn't make too many pinball machines, but they made a few. And I'm a big pinball fan. Pinball machines are very expensive, though, and because there's so many moving parts in them, they tend to break. So you have to have the knowledge to be able to repair them. But hopefully someday I'll own a pinball machine, and I love to do that. Star Trek Next Generation is one of my favorites. I understand at one point they had a lot more pinball machines here at Funspot, and they're kind of in storage right now. So I guess they take them in and out, move them around. There's Seawolf. Here's some Ixody games, Zybots, Dragon Spirit, which is ported to the TurboGrafx 16 that I'm aware of as well. Some classic Atari games now coming to that. Double Dribble, the arcade. I didn't realize they had a Double Dribble arcade game. I knew they had an NES port, but no idea they had an arcade by Konami. Quantum, that is a vector-style graphic game by Atari. Very rare. Object you have to roll the ball around these things floating around in space, and it's really fun actually. Very cool. Battle Zone. These are all the vector-style graphic games, and vector graphics are the lines and linear graphics, light. Very cool. Very popular by Atari in the 80s. Super Breakout by Atari. Steve Wozniak actually helped create Breakout originally for Atari, and Wozniak went on to help create Apple today. There's Outrun by Sega, classic racing game, one of my favorite Sega racing games actually. They made a lot of them. A basketball game. There's Sprint, a racing game. Breakout, the original, that one wasn't working. The monitor wasn't working, but I'd say most of these machines were in working condition. They have 2 full-time employees working on machines all the time. You can imagine with all the 100 different games they have that some of them are going to break down, and because a lot of these machines are over 30 years old, it tends to happen, and they do a great job of maintaining these as well. Millipedes, classic. Thank you for watching part 1 of my walkthrough of Funspot. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you soon. Take care.